This is Ray's Quest Body and Mind podcast. Today we'll be talking with Laura Ordile. We'll be discussing the Power of Eight Coherence Meditation Group originated by Lynne McTaggart. It is going to be so interesting. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Ray Dwyer. I am your host to Ray's Quest Body and Mind podcast. And tonight we have a special friend with us. Her name is Laura Ordile. She is my leader in Lynne McTaggart's Power of Eight group. And I am a big fan of that. You need to read her book, Power of Eight, and The Intention Experiment. A lot of wows in those books. Laura will be able to tell you more about that than I could ever tell you. I just kind of go, oh, wow, and we did this and we did this. She'll tell you all about it. And we'll talk about intents, but there's more to Laura than this. This is how I met her. I thought she just did this. And then as I got to know her, I found out she is quite the lady. She's a mindset mentor, master hypnotist, professional intuitive, astrologer, and also a certified NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and more. There's more to her than I even know how to explain, and I'm going to just say wow, and so tickled pleased that Laura joined us tonight and give us her time to talk about what she does and explain some of the questions, like what is intention and just who is Lynne McTaggart and things like that. Well, Laura, I hope I built you up enough and didn't make you just too uncomfortable. But let me turn the mic over to my friend Laura Ordell and let her introduce herself further and tell us what she does and talk about Power of Eight to begin with, and then we'll fill in the blanks with the other wonderful things that other talents and skills she has. Laura, you got the mic.
There you go. I'm on Ordeal. You can always
Ordeal.
remember Ordeal. It looks like Ordile, but Laura's an Ordeal. So I
Okay.
finally married to the name I've lived up to all my life. So I get excited about that.
Yeah.
But okay, Power of Eight. Well, for those of you that are not familiar with the Power of Eight, Lynne McTaggart, who is and has been a long time reporter. She actually did some investigative reporting and researcher. She did some of those things. And when she was working on some of the things, she started to really dig into energy and the working of energy and how it applies in our world. And she's written a few books, The Field. A lot of you might have heard of The Field. And through the process of some of the things that they were doing, um, I can't remember exactly which event, but she was getting together and they might have been doing some work in quote unquote the field. And they decided to group some people together to do some of this work and they ended up putting like 8 people together and they started having some really amazing results. And that's basically, it's that simple. That's how the Power of Eight was kind of born. And she continues to do the research at a scientific level as well as at the spiritual, energetic version of the work that's there. She obviously gets together with a lot of spiritual people like Joe Dispenza, like Bruce Lipton, like, oh my gosh, I just lost his name. Uh, he's in New Mexico, but I can't think of his name. They do a lot of different things together and work, and so she now does. She personally does the intention work at a really global level. And they've done a lot of experiments with that, a lot of different things. But she has, I think you can join her. It's either once or twice a week. If she's still doing that, I'd have to go look for sure. But she does big, huge groups of healing. And they'll do it sometimes for individuals, but a lot of times, like especially right now, they're doing it at that global level for areas that are really struggling, like Gaza and some of those places right now. And then she also does I guess you'd call it a master class where you come in and you spend a couple of months with her, 6 or 8 weeks. I think it's up to 8 weeks. Every week you're doing and learning in her classes and really going deep into intention and studying about it, and all there's so many different things around it. I There's a few things even I haven't dug that deep into, because she really goes into some of the science of how the energy of the earth, or and the how that can make a difference in the timing of intentions. And there's like perfect times, or more powerful times to actually be doing some intending according to a certain time at a certain place. And shoot, they've really calculated deeply in some of this. And I'm sorry I can't answer a lot of questions about that part of it. I tried to dig into it and got a little lost on it. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to back off of that a little bit and dig into some of the other things. But then with that particular masterclass, you actually spend a year of working in the attention group that you're working with. You go through this whole year of working on intentions and really kind of doing it and reporting back to her the things that have taken place in the group. So it really is a commitment to that. And when I found her, I decided before the class started, I'm like, gosh, I need to know more about this. And so I went on. You can go on YouTube, and she actually has a podcast too. I found it on YouTube at the time. What was the Power of Eight intention group about? And she tells you how to set the Power of Eight group up, and how to do it on a kind of base level. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do that. And so I did. And that was a good while ago. And so I've been doing that consistently for a few years now, probably 3, 4 years, I think, at least. And it's been interesting and fascinating and fun. And I actually, in the group that I do, um, sometimes people really come in and just want to intend for the world, or intend for peace and amazing things, and all of that. And I kind of don't let them do that. I really focus in the group that I run on individuals. Once or twice a year, we do group intentions for something bigger. But because Lynn does that, and because I know there's other groups out there that really focus on some of that, I turn to the individual in the work that I do, in helping them bring about the intentions that they want in their life. And if you come to the group, you'll find out that I do encourage. You can sit and watch and be a part of it for a while, but I'm going to encourage you to be involved and put an intention up for yourself, because I believe that we can all really benefit in something in our life, no matter how small it is. It doesn't have to be the need for a huge healing in your life to come and do some intention work. It can be that you would really just like to enhance your creativity in what you're doing. It might be that you want to get that next level job. It could be you really want to re-engage with your relationship. But whatever it is, what I truly believe and what I've found is that when you open up and allow yourself the intention work with you, it's the flow that allows it to kind of come back out, and it works in the group, and it works in everything. So you are energizing yourself in a way by allowing, and then you're able to kind of give that energy exchange and give and allow in other people's lives. So it's wonderful to give. But if you're only giving, you're not really opening to the flow of the energy that it's meant to be. So I hope that kind of gives you a little groundwork, a little bit of what's going on with what I do. So,
Laura, let me ask you a question. Let's go to some foundational stuff. Let's talk about intention, the word, and how you start from. I came into this work a few years ago really not having any idea of that word, and I've had to work my way, study my way into it, and practice my way into it. What is intention as it's used through Lynne McTaggart's work?
it is, um, it's tapping into the energy of what you want to bring into your life. And I heard Wayne Dyer describe it, and I really wanted to remember it. And I'm going to see if I can remember the way he described intention. I think he said, uh, reality is always a temporary expression of your intention because our intention is always moving and changing and coming into what's next. It's the creation of what we really want to bring in our life and what we intend to actually happen. It's like it's the navigation of our energetic creation is what intention is. How's that? The navigation of our energetic creation.
Um, in my early work, the struggle with my analytical mind was to go from attention to awareness. And intention is like you start in attention and move into awareness and build it there, because the work is done in the heart energy, not in the analytical mind energy. Is that correct? Or is it
Um,
kind of a, well, it's actually a body mind connection. That's why I named my group, my little podcast here, Body Mind, because I know it to be both. And, here I am, trick myself up in my own question. Okay, but well, anyway,
Intention is that connection through all of that. It uses our imagination, our intuition, which involves all of our senses. And I think intention is the creation of all of that. Because, we have our access to that energy, to the universal energy of all that is, and it kind of comes in, and through that, we come into thoughts, and then we come from thoughts into emotions, and from those emotions into our actions. And so it's that little flow of process. And so the thoughts tend to come, and then the feelings most often. And so it is an analytical process because it comes from the thought of what you want. And then you're feeling into that. And through that, it comes into action, it comes into creation, it comes into our reality. And with that, there is an awareness because something can't come into being without our awareness being on it. That's the actual creation in this quantum time is awareness. Make sense?
yeah, Lori asked a nice question. How would an intention differ from a goal? You know, of just wanting something. I want that. I want that. I want that. But that doesn't qualify for what we're trying to define intention.
I think a goal is something that um we can sometimes it's semantics of it can be a goal. It can be a goal. But for a lot of people, goal is like, ooh, okay, this is what I want to set in place. This is what I want to set in place. This is what I want to set in place. And I'm going to make that happen.
Right.
Okay. And it sometimes is not involving the creation,
Yes.
the energy, that's there. It's like, I'm going to do that instead of I'm going to be in that and create that and bring that about, you know. And so it is a little bit of semantics. It could be considered a goal if you want to consider it a goal. For some people, goal can be a dirty word because it brings failure to mind. It brings difficulty to mind. It brings hard work to mind. All of that, and so if you think of a goal like that as hard work, as you've got to put that effort in, you've got to do that. That would not be in line with intention. Wow, that might be in line with an intention.
Well, I think you brought up the key point is that a goal is something we do. An intention is a call or a light we put out in the universe for the universe to create and draw to us as we are drawn to it. It's less us doing it, and it's like intention is the planning of a creation act. You know, it's an energy thing versus I'm going to get up and do this goal, as we were just mentioning. Because when you go to work, you set out your agenda and you do the agenda. You have your goal for the day to meet these criteria, and you do it. That's not really the intention. Um, intention is active creation, right? Wouldn't you say it's an energy thing?
Well, I think it's again, it's a combination. Um, it is absolutely that first step in creation in that energy. It's all, it's in our mind, it's in our body, it's in bringing that version of what we want from wherever it is in that quantum field. It's like bringing the awareness of that into our current quantum energy field and time. And it can happen that quick and can be just like that through that process. Does that mean that we're going to sit on our couch and bring every intention that we want into our life? No. You're in a human experience. You're still going to get up. You're still going to take the steps. And when you take those steps, when you do those things, you're engaging again that flow, that energetic flow. Energy is not static. I mean, I guess sometimes it sits and it can be stored, but when it's really doing its thing, it's flowing, it's moving. And that's what we're meant to be doing. We're not meant to sit and just expect and have, these things here. We, whether we do that by physically getting up and going and doing something, by getting on the computer and connecting with someone, by initializing something in some other way, we're in this world to engage. And when you start engaging those things is when you then put that energy, that intention into motion.
There you go. I think we're getting to the root of what I was hoping we could find. Yeah, because it's not just an intention is not a want this and so I'm going to plan it. It's not that. But it's also not the far other end where you just dream up a picture and you put it on the wall and I intend for this creation and then you go on with your regular life. It's an it's a body mind connection. Both of them are engaged. As the intention becomes more present in your mind, you physically in this world make little changes as you draw to that intended goal. And so you are moving and acting like you said and creating more energy to that intent and it's moving coming to you, but it's a body consciousness. Two ends meet. It's not just one. Of course,
Right.
there's always exceptions to that where it just seems to go, I want this, and it just like, oh, where'd that come from? And sometimes you get those, which is totally confusing because I thought, but other times you really have to be engaged in the energy process.
Well, and I think that there's motion behind those other things too when they come into play. It might have just been that you were doing some of the things and then that awareness of, oh, that's what I want from there. And you're already so far kind of into that process that it's like super easy for it to come in and be there.
Yes.
And that's when those wonderful things kind of, happen. We had a gentleman that came into the group a while back and he was looking for a job and he came in and wanted to add into the intention and asked for our intention and he had some specifics about the job that he wanted, the pay, the location, all of these different things. And he came in and I mean within a couple of weeks he had that job. He had it. He was already in the process of looking for a job. So he was already in motion in that energy. And so dialing it into what he wanted and with the boost of, the energy that we get to add to it as being part of that circle, it just kind of like swooshed him into the right place exactly, super quick. And it was wonderful. I love seeing those things happen. It's fun.
Karina's asked an interesting question, one that I've thought many times, and I've got an opinion for, but mine, I'm just kind of down on this end. Is there any correlation between the size of the group and intention materializing? In other words, whether 4, 6, 8, or 100, 200 people, is the size part of a? I guess intention matters too. What have you realized and seen in your time with Lynne McTaggart?
Well, this is not, honestly, you'd have to go to her. I think that obviously when you have large groups of people in that energetic field, it's going to definitely change things at maybe a quicker level or a deeper level or something like that. That's just a natural energetic thing when you have the same thought process and that same intent for that energy to move in a certain way, definitely I think it affects things. I've also had, my group fluctuates a lot. And sometimes we'll have 4 people, 6 people, 8 people, 12 people. And I've seen it happen quickly with 4 people, where an intention goes and then it flows into, we get feedback on it that week that, oh, that went well and it was wonderful. And maybe nothing really came of something with the group of 12 that we had. Lynn decided that they really had the progress happening at a slightly higher level with the power of 8. That's why, they came into that through the experiments that she's done, through the groupings that they've done in the way that it's happened. They see things really kind of start to kick off with that number for some reason. And numbers 8 is a really interesting number in itself. If you get into numerology and you get into all the things, it's a number of abundance, it's a number of opening, it's a number of flow. It's also related to kind of eternity, the flow of eternity because of its shape. And I talk with my hands. Can you tell? So that's how I would answer that. But I think that also, when you're working on your own intention and when you're working on those things, you're really powerful in your own life with just you, because this is your energy that you're working in. You are, the master of your ship right here. You get to be the one navigating, directing, changing the way that you want it. And that is more powerful than anyone else trying to do anything for you. Absolutely. You have the most power in your life. When you can ask people to join in that and gather in that, and you have that power of 8 and a group of people that are there with you, it does amplify it, absolutely. But never think that you are somehow less powerful than somebody else doing the intention for you. That's absolutely not true. If you have 8 people sitting around and you're not involved in the intention, it's not going to work as well for you as if you're in the middle of that power of 8 doing it for yourself as well.
Right. I've been in your group for a while, and I've given intentions for myself, and talking about an amazing love experience. It is really for a guy that spent most of his life working in the corner doing very singular projects, to sit in a group and just have these people I don't really know other than hellos just feel their energy, love you for a few minutes. It is just a moving experience. It just is. It just, even if I didn't have an attention, I just said, I need love today. The, the little group of people who just love my socks off. And it's just like, wow, what an experience. So, yeah, it really is a matter of, will you open your own heart for your intention? It's amazing.
It is. It is. And I want everyone to experience that. And that's why I poke at you sometimes. Okay, it's your turn to do an intention. You're going up. You're up. I always make sure I tell everyone, have a couple intentions written down when you come to the group, because I might just say it's your turn.
One of the things I've noticed is that there is a script model that you use for your intention. I know because when I write it, you go, well, let me reword it. I never get it quite right. It's all, well, let's go do this, and you fiddle with it because I haven't quite gotten it down. If you were to outline that script, how would you do that?
Um, I so one place that I do kind of veer away from Lynn a little bit is one thing when writing an intention, I think detail is incredibly important. It's great to add the detail that you want and have the words that you're comfortable with in there. And who, what, when, where, why, add all of those things in that you want to add in, adding the detail that you're comfortable with sharing. I do not, however, add in the how. And she's talked about the how, and I'll be honest, even when I went through kind of her instructions around that and the class that talked about that, it didn't it didn't connect for me. in how it was being explained or how it, so I just leave it out. I think that the universe gives us the opportunity to something even more than what we can even imagine. And so I like to leave the door open to how that's going to happen. Um, and but otherwise, if you're able to put a time frame on it, and I want to talk about that for 2 seconds. People get nervous about a time frame because they're afraid, what if it doesn't happen? Then this doesn't work. That's not true. All right. The universe is constantly evolving, in motion, all those things. By putting a time frame in there, it tells us, okay, this is great, we're here. And what it allows us to do is, if it's not there at that point, we can check in. Is this maybe an intention that we need to break down a little bit? That we need to say, I do want all that bigger picture, but here's the first step of what I need. And so we can really break it down. So if you want, say, I'm just going to say, I want $100,000 this year in income. Okay, somebody
I think
comes
you
in with,
nailed one that most people can relate to.
so yeah, okay, that's what I want. And you can put that out there and have that in that energy. But what if you might want to have a few markers for that along the way. So you could put the intention out there, maybe at the beginning of the year, or whenever you're ready for it, that says, I would like to have at least $100,000 in gross or net income, whatever, gross income, or you can say, I would like to have $100,000 in cash, money, however you want to term it. Again, leaving the door open a little bit there. By the end of this year, in a way that is, healthy and happy for everyone involved. And that kind of says, okay, let's do this in a good way that allows the door to be open. And as you're moving through, maybe the next month, you're like, you know what? I want to start seeing some of that. I'm not seeing that happen yet. So you break it down into something smaller. I'd really like to see $5,000 of extra income show up in my life in the next 30 days. And so you set that intention as a little bit of a stepping stone. And then you're allowing that energy to go, oh, okay. Because sometimes we want the ultimate goal. We want to be healed right now. We want it to be immediate. We want the change now. And we can get into the back and forth of, did it really happen? It's happening right now, energetically, somewhere out there. So we're just going to say it's happening immediately, even if it's not showing up in the present. Okay, but we're in this world, we're in this reality. And oftentimes we need to have things manifest physically for us to feel good about what's going on. We can feel good at that energetic connection, at that knowing that that's out there for me somewhere. That's wonderful. That's good. But sometimes we need steps into that. It allows it to kind of ease in and go, ooh. And so I encourage people sometimes to break it down. If you're really struggling health wise, what's the one thing that would make a difference in your life right now? It might be lessening the pain by a measurable amount. By what's going to make something better in your life right now? If the pain wasn't to go away completely, there's always that possibility. And we can say by 25% or more, open the door, open it wide, but allow at least that little part to be doable for yourself to come into that intention. That makes sense?
Yes, I know for my medical healings, I had a date that I wanted done. I was facing a surgery and I wanted it done before the surgery. And I kind of went at it like a madman. Just Dr. Joe says, use all the passion you've got. More passion to fix it than you use to create it. And I used to, I was kind of a, well, anyway, that's another story. But so I put a date on it and I got it on before the date came. And I can't really claim anything because all I was doing is shouting to heaven, ah! But I used the date as something that I needed, and it worked for me. Other times, if you focus on the date, it interferes with the creation because you've taken your mind off of the energy of intending and creating and put it over here on this energy of date. And so there's a little bit of wisdom that I stumbled into that you've got to be aware of.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it is in the next, I mean, if you don't think it can happen right now, or you just are like, I don't want to push it, maybe it's in the next couple months, or I'd be okay with it this year, or whatever it is, that's something to have in there. That's a detail. Sometimes, even if you don't put all the tiny details in the intention, have it for yourself.
Hmm.
Have the details of how you feel, what your life will be like. Imagine the things because their imagination is the ignition of that creation.
Right.
If you can imagine those things, you're starting the creation process. And through that, holding it loosely. And I think, you and I talked about it, and I believe you kind of shared the discussion that we had a little bit about holding loosely to things.
Oh, I love that note that you wrote earlier this week. I shared it with everybody. I got a few comments on it. It was really perfect.
Oh, yeah, it's so important that we use the details because it sparks and ignites the energy within us. We live in a detailed world. We live in a world that has all these little tiny flowers and the beautiful trees and the blue sky and a day that makes you just take your breath in and feel so good and happy, and being able to sit out there in that feeling good and having the nice breath and all of those things. Those are things that you bring that feeling in so wonderfully. And when you can do that, you put little anchors in that allow you to feel into those experiences and bring them about. Now, when you do that, it's important to also hold loosely. And it's like, well, how do you put all the details in, but you hold loosely? You put all the details in because you're using your imagination. And what are some of the most important ones? The most important one is how you're going to feel at the end of the process. That's the most important one. But some of them might really be if you're trying to create or intend for a new job and you want that job, one of the most important things in it might be I need it to be that I can work remotely. Okay, that's part of the process. So that would be one that's like, I really need that in there. Do I need this, and this? It'd be nice. But as you put some of those little anchors in place, really kind of distinguish what is super important for you, because those are the things that are going to powerfully draw that in your direction. And I often talk, so it's so funny. I have people, I had this happen like a couple months in a row with people. It was so funny. They really wanted a new home and they were not finding the home, and they were, all of these little details about kind of the neighborhood they wanted it in, the price range, what they wanted around in the home or how it would feel, and all of these things. And so they're like, I'm doing all these things. And I said, that's wonderful. And I said, how about we hold it a little loosely? Let's loosen up some of the parameters. So can we maybe at this neighborhood, would that be totally out of the question? It's like, oh, no, that would be okay, I guess. It's right next to it, it's within a couple miles. All right. We did that with one person, opened up that little parameter right there, and it was like 2 weeks later, they found the
Hmm.
house. They got the house. Opening up, and that's what I mean by holding loosely. Go into those details and but don't be so attached to it that it's like do or die. If I don't get this, it doesn't matter. I don't want it if it's not exactly this. If it doesn't come to me through the lottery, I don't want my $1 million. Who would say that?
Right.
Nobody would say that. They want the $1 million, right? Little things. And who would be stuck on the fact that, oh, the money comes in cash or it comes through a wire transfer or it comes in gold or or it comes half of it now and half of it later. That's okay. So you can be specific. I want the $1 million. And here's why. And I want all the lovely things of how I'm going to feel about that. And then kind of go, okay, universe, what can you do with this? How magical can you make this? What amazing thing can you bring to this whole thing?
Right.
And it will show you up. I'll tell you what, it will show you
One
what
of
it
the
can
things
do.
that I do to help me with the feelings is that I recognize that day-to-day work has very little feelings to it. I got to get up, I got to go here, I got to do this, I've got this much stuff I need to do, and I hope it all works out. There's not much heart in that. It's just skills that you learn to develop. But when I have a goal that's a little out of my range, like healing my body, I don't know how my body heals. I mean, there's people who go to 10 years of college to learn how that happens. How am I supposed to be able to say how on my body to do anything? I eat food all my life. I can't even tell you how I digest food. I chew it, put it in, and process it. That's all I know. So what I've done, and I use the same thing for different projects, is I create symbols, and then I get excited about the symbols because I can't get excited about me digesting food. I don't understand it. I can't tell a story in it. So I created a symbolic story for me. When I'm healing something and I have a sore, I get little energy forces I call angels to carry sparklers into my body, and the sparklers represent energy activating around the area that I need healing or in it. And as a little boy part of me never grew up, sparklers are cool. And so I get sparklers going off me, and that is energy in me, and I get a feeling of excitement in the imagery of my healing. Now that's all comic strip, but the imagery stirs the emotion, stirs the confidence, stirs all those positive feelings in me, and drives the idea of I'm healing, and the proof of it is I get sparklers going off inside me. I don't know, it just seems to work for me. And it does work for me because I've overcome some amazing things. And so if you have an everyday thing that is really hard to get excited about, but you're trying to achieve something beyond your normal, tell a fantasy story of little angels helping you along the way so that you can be emotionally excited about it happening or something like that. That's what I do. There you go. Laura says, yes, dreams come true. And that's part of what I'm saying.
Somebody asked if this was an intention.
I've seen it, but I've never dared ask a lady about her tattoo. It's like something guys, what's that tattoo in your arm, lady?
Yes, it's I had that done in Ireland, and Ireland was one of my dream
So what does it
vacations.
say?
It says dreams come true. Remember Ireland, and
Oh,
it's in Gaelic. It's in Gaelic, so I had that. And when I go to Scotland, I'll have one over here. So I
another
haven't decided
Irish
what
loss.
to say yet.
Um, a lassie.
So yes, I'm Irish Scottish, so I have all that dreamy, fun, mystical,
Yeah.
magical stuff going on. But yeah, it's so fun to see and to imagine and use our imagination, because that is so incredible to do those things. And I don't know how many of you actually, I mean, God, I didn't realize how long it's been since like The Secret came out, which is obviously law of attraction, but there's intention in that too. And one of the things that what's her name, Robin? I think it's Robin, the person that wrote the book. She says in that process, I think it's in that book that she talks about it, that she had the intention, she wanted to um, not have reading glasses. She wanted to see well, and she basically went through the process of imagining herself in all, like in dark places, in restaurants, reading without the glasses, being in on the plane reading with it. She really put herself through that, And at one point she did it. And at one point, the doctor, she was talking to somebody, and the eye doctor said, "That's incredible, but do you actually realize what had to happen for your eyes to do that?" And she said, "No. And I don't want to know, because then that might trip up what I don't want to know, because it happened and that's all I need to know about it. Doesn't matter to me what the process is." But he was just like so amazed, because parts, had to change inside her body to allow that to happen. But that
Yes.
happens all the time. And it's so amazing. I was just talking about this gets into a whole other thing, but I was talking this morning about a book that I'm reading that talks about something that's called um, Matrix Energetics by Richard Bartlett. And it really talks about the possibilities that we just don't put into play, because we think that too much would have to happen for that to come into our reality. But that's not true. And there was a question in there that I think it might have been Karina that asked, on the length of time for the meditations and things. And the Power of Eight does anywhere from, I think we're at 8 minutes, 8 to 12 minutes for a meditation. And Joe Dispenza's are a lot longer. And again, one of the things I want you to remember is it's not an either or. Which was a very big thing in that little thing that he shared. One of the questions was around getting into the details, and if you should really be specific, thinking that you know better than the universe what to bring. And it's like it's not either or. You can combine the work of all of these people and make it into the things that work in your life. I can't tell you how many different things I pull from to come to an understanding of the things that work in my world. But with the time and intention, time is our construct, obviously. Time in the energetic world doesn't really matter. It's up to us to determine and to get in the place that we need to be and to do the work that we need to do. And I'll tell you what, there's times when I'm doing the intentions, and I 8 minutes is more than I need. I go in and it's like 2 minutes and 3 minutes, and I'm there, and it's in that it's intense, and I'm in that energetic work, and I'm there, and I get the information that I'm going to share, because we do share in there, because that's a part of what we do as well. And is that awareness and bringing that into the whole part of it to share. But I sometimes it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes that I'm in that energetic part of being. But I know, and I know that I know that I know that what I did in that time frame made a difference. There's people that can get in and do little micro jumps and things, and it makes a difference. They shift things. So time is, again, one of those little things in our brain that is of that construct. Does that mean that it's not important to do the work that is working for you with Joe Dispenza? No. If it's working for you and it feels good for you and right for you to be in the meditation for 30 minutes, for an hour, for whatever it is, do it. Do it. That can be very meaningful to how you are and how things change in your lifetime. It's wonderful that a positive impact can come from whatever time we take to put our attention on it. It might be 2 minutes a day if that's where you can focus and do it. If you can put 2 minutes of your day into it, does that mean that you shouldn't try and stretch it to 4? No, see if you can stretch it to 4. See if you can stretch it to 5. Go to where you're comfortable with it. If you are like me, I can't do, I have not yet been able to manage, I will say, an hour meditation unless I'm laying down and able to like think about falling asleep through it or do something, where I have to almost be on the verge of coming out of sleep or going into sleep. Because otherwise my brain just does not stay there. I go in for a little bit and then I'm out and I'm done. And that's me. And that's how I work in my world. So, but it can be very effective wherever you put your attention for however long.
Let me ask one last question that someone asked. Could you give, without violating privacy, some people has allowed it, examples of the intentions and things that have come to fruition that you've been given permission to talk about in the Power of Eight
Well, one
group?
was the example of the job that came in with the with that particular gentleman that was looking for that job at that time. Let me look in my little notebook. I would have looked sooner. I didn't think about that. But um, well, yeah, I can think of one where we intended for a specific outcome of a meeting for someone, and that outcome came into play in a wonderful way. And it was not necessarily expected in that outcome. It was expected to be a little bit tougher and a little bit harder of a drive, and it just went smoother than that person expected. And I love that. I love that energy that's there. And I've had things in my own life come into play. We even for my children, where something kind of came in. We did an intention, I think, for my son at one point to have a particular job opportunity come into play, and it was within a couple of weeks he was in a job, and it was like okay, and that opportunity had not been there when we did the intention.
Oh,
That
that's something
particular
I know.
possibility and opportunity had not been there. And so that came into play. Um, I think that happened. We have a lot of job stuff that comes because I keep thinking of that. But there was another woman who was in the process of looking for a different situation, and she wasn't sure how it was going to come about, and kind of wanted to open up and do something different. And I think we did the intention, and that one might have been like another month or so, but within a month or so, a, a job kind of came out of the blue, and it was one that she was interested in. The work, the money, all of those things were in play, and she was able to and she got the job. She was able to move into that job. On
Didn't I do one for my wife just a few weeks ago?
You
I,
did.
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
She was having extreme pains. It was bad enough that the intention was Sunday morning. I think it was Tuesday. We finally took her to the hospital. She spent the night at the hospital because she was bent over pain. By by Wednesday, they had thrown every test in the book at her and sent her home with no symptoms and no problem discovered. And it hasn't returned. It just kind of like here she's one day for a few days she's been over with head pain. They were thinking that she may have been having a seizure or a stroke or something like that. And they gave her MRIs, MRAs, EEGs, the whole alphabet of tests, and sent her home with we found nothing, and it hasn't returned.
I've been
Yeah.
trying to manifest a job for my son for a long time and it doesn't work. So I need to learn how to manifest it.
Yeah. Well, with that is a very good lead on. Uh, is that Laura? Why don't you, if you're up for it, give post in the chat line how they can contact you to get on your list to show up on Sunday mornings if they're able. It's a scheduling thing, I understand, but if they're able.
There we go. There we go. Yes.
Yes.
And we've done intentions for animals, for healing, for easy crossing, crossing over. Which is a hard thing, but it's something that, is there. We've done intentions for what was I just looking at? There was one that was kind of fun. For someone to really kind of open up to this particular person wanted to do lucid dreaming. And so we did an intention to really open the channels for the lucid dreaming. And as far as I know, he was doing pretty well with it the last time I talked to him. So there's all kinds of intentions that you can put out for yourself. It doesn't have to be, I want to heal the, you know, big drastic thing in my life. And I really want that to get across to people, because oftentimes people will come in and we'll do an intention for someone who has cancer or a big surgery or a situation, and then someone else will be like, oh yeah, no, I'm fine, mine's not important. Yes it is.
Yeah.
Yes
My
it is.
puppy is paw, so it's no big. It doesn't compare to that. No, we love your puppy. Let us help your puppy and let us love on your puppy and let him heal. And it's like, oh, that's cool.
Yes, and I talk about that all the time. Whatever little thing you want in your life is as important as the big thing that we want to change over here. Because again, we're in that flow of energy, we're in that flow of change, we're in that flow of directing in your life the things that are important to you. And through that energy that you have going on in your body, in your life, in your situation, you're able to add even more, even better to the group through that. So I want you to be in that wonderful place. And those little things can be so meaningful, you know? So
Now I've got to confess, Lynne McTaggart is one of my favorite subjects. But Laura, you've got a list on your resume that just like, wow, mentor. I don't know what that means.
I work with I chose Mindset Mentor because I had to really kind of adjust my mindset in my life. And through all the work that I do in the different ways, I brought that together. And so having been through really trying to change my mindset, I knew that I could be a mentor to other people who were wanting the same thing. And I do that through the process. Right now, most of my work is through hypnosis and NLP, and I work wonderfully with people who want to really up level their business, who really want to kind of bring things into that happiness and the success that they're ready for. I also work with a group of people who are really ready to clear away the crap that they no longer need in their life, the chronic pain, the IBS, the headaches, the anxiety, all of those things. And it works wonders. And I actually just worked with someone not too long ago who came in, they had PTSD, they had all these serious things going on in their life. And we cleared 17 different symptoms in 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Is
No
this a
longer,
Zoom meeting or is this a person to person?
that was person to person. Well, it's Zoom. I do all my work on Zoom, but it was individual. So yeah, I do all
Where
my
did
work
you
on.
say you live?
I don't live
You
in
don't get
Dallas.
much foot traffic in the winter, do you?
No. No. So yeah, my house does not look like this right now. We live in a lot of snow and cold. And but I deal with people all over the world. I deal with people in the UK and
So that would be a Zoom meeting. That's what I was asking.
yeah, I do all my work on Zoom and I love it. And it's just as effective as if I'm with them in person,
Okay.
if not more. And it's wonderful. Yes, actually, definitely success with insomnia. And with insomnia, anxiety, digestive issues, situations kind of going on. Because when I'm working with the subconscious, the subconscious runs everything in your body. It
Yes.
does everything. And so it absolutely can change the physical things
Yeah.
going on in your body.
And that's why the power of symbols and the power of
And
stories in those symbols.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a podcast out there that you can go and explore all of the different things that I talk about. The one I have it comes out twice a week. The one that comes out on Monday is kind of the where I bridge the practical and the woo. That's some of the energy work
Oh, why
and
don't you
all of
write that
that.
in that podcast link? Do you have that off the top of your head that you can just write it out?
I can tell you the name of it, and you can find it. You can find it on Apple, on Spotify. You can find it on Amazon.
Just look for
Um,
Laura Ordeal.
well, it's called the Change Gang podcast. You can probably find it under Laura Ordeal too, but
Oh, the Change Gang
on Thursday
podcast. Okay,
it's called
that's
the
what I was
Change Gang
asking for.
podcast,
Okay.
and then it comes out on Thursdays. The one that I've been doing for the last few months actually talks about all of the different things with hypnosis and the change and the trauma. It's called Triumphing Over Trauma, and how trauma is sometimes formed in our situation in our
Right.
life and all these different things.
Yeah, I think there's some
But
people
you can go to
that
my
would really.
website
Yeah, I think there's some people here that'd really like to learn more about you, and so I'm glad we got that.
and you can go to my website and check out the things there. And there's actually a little tab that says freebies, and it's got like four different things that you can grab there that are fun. And so have some
Yeah,
fun with it.
yeah, I hope everybody's writing those down. Okay, let's ask you. I want to ask you about a professional intuitive. I know what an intuitive is. How do you become a professional intuitive? That's the pairing of
You
those
get
two
paid for
words
it.
make my yeah, you get paid for it. Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense. I just never thought of it that way. You know, I intuitively know what store to go to shop to buy a discount, but become professional at it, I go tilt. It just never crossed my mind.
Yeah, I do. I use intuitive simply because it's a softer word for a lot of people than psychic. But it's basically the same energy, the same information. I go in and I will do a reading with people and give them information on hopefully what their choices look like ahead and how to navigate that in a way that's best for them. I don't make decisions for people. I don't say do this, do that. Here's here's a way for, I say here, like if you're going for a new job and it's like, oh, should I take this job or am I going to get this job? That might be the wrong question. It's like, what does this job look like in my life 6 months from now?
Do I wear the
Well,
blue tie or the red tie? No, huh?
I don't do that. I don't do politics. So um, I did with a couple friends over the last couple ones, and I'll just say I was right, but uh, it can get a little scary when you dip into some of that stuff. So I just don't discuss it. But
Well, astrology, I know a little bit about it. I know it through my studies of the Kabbalah and how it relates to the symbols and the planetary forces. How do you deal with because I relate to the word astrology through the Kabbalah. How do you process it? What's your reference?
astrology, I just see it's astrology, which is the foundation of a lot of things. It comes through in that, it comes through in human design. A lot of these were kind of based on astrology and how it came about. I don't know about the Kabbalah or however you say it, but they're connected in different ways. I use astrology to really come in and give someone a sense of the amazing person that they are, because so many people don't realize that they come into this world with certain ways that are going to be easiest for them to move through. So a lot of times kids will, from the time they're little, be told, quiet down, calm down, you're too much, you're too much. And then that person hears that throughout their life, you're too much, you know calm down, do this. And so they push themselves down, and they're like, oh yeah, there's that person, or I'm too blunt, or I say the thing, or well, oh, that's probably a little fire child that has so much fire in their chart that they're just busy and playing, and they say the thing, and they need to move their body to feel good in the energy that they're in. what I want them to see, what I want that fire child who was told to be less than all their life, I want you to see how amazing you are, how you light the way in the world, how you let the rest of us light our lights off of you. So don't stop shining. Don't stop. Don't be less than for anyone, because you're showing the rest of us how to be the pioneer, how to be the warrior and stand for the people. Or there's the people who are told, the air signs, oh my gosh, you're all over the place. You have all these ideas, you've got all this going on, but what's going on in your brain, or you're talking so much, or you're bopping around the room, having 72 different conversations. Yes, you are. And you're meant to. And beautiful that way,
Right,
because you are their creators. You are the ones that come up with the innovations, with the ideas.
right,
You're the one that blends the rest of us together through conversation. You network for us and show us how to say the things that need to be said through communication. You're our communicators in this
right.
world. And so I do that through all of those different ways through astrology. That's what I do with astrology. And then I say, here's how to work in the energy that you have, because this might be overwhelming for you. You might be someone who has so much emotion going on in your chart that you are told, oh my gosh, you're so emotional. Yeah, you're absolutely emotional. And you know what? A lot of people aren't going to understand how much emotion you have going on. But here's how to do this. Here's how to swim with that in the world, to be comfortable in the world that tells you, oh my gosh, you're so emotional. And yet it's a gift that you're given to be able to experience the emotion in your body, to be able to show the rest of us it's okay to cry. It's great to laugh. It's okay to have moments. And here's how you use that energy in your life to make it work wonderfully for you. When
Yes.
you're struggling with it, here's how to relieve that a little bit. That's what I do. That's how I do that.
Someone
That's
asked,
how
do
I
you need a time in astrology, a time of birth? I know in a zodiac they ask for times of birth and location and that kind of detail. Do you need that kind of detail when you're doing an
The
astrological thing?
zodiac is astrology. Yeah, that's
Okay,
the
they're
same
the same.
thing.
That's the
Zodiac
same
is
thing.
the
So,
yeah,
so
the
if you were to
zodiac
do that
is
for somebody, you would ask location and time if you have it.
yes, date, time, and place of birth. And if you don't know the time, if you're able to get kind of close, if your mom's around, and most of the time it's on a birth certificate. When you have the birth
I can
certificate,
tell you
it's on
mine
there.
does not have it. It was in a Navy hospital and they couldn't have cared less the time. I was
Yeah.
number 27 and who cares the time it is? Another one.
Ah, I was born in a Navy hospital. I have time. But if you don't know the time, that's okay. We can still do the chart. Some of the specifics might not be as detailed, but I've done them without times or close to times. It's like, well, I was born early morning, so we kind of guessed a little bit. There's ways that you can go back and there's people that can actually go back and find out really closely what time you were born. It's incredible how they do it. I have not spent the time to go and learn how to do that. But the work that I do can still be done even if you don't know that time. So
All right. I think we've covered what we've meant to cover. That sounds like a good way to bring this to a close. Laura, give us some closing notes and things like that. Invite and all that kind of nice closing.
you're absolutely invited to come and join the intention group, and you don't feel bad if you can't be there every week. People pop in when they can. I love being able to have the consistency of it. Sometimes I actually have another commitment every once in a while. I'm pretty consistent. So if you're willing to show up, I'm pretty consistent about showing up. And I would love to start working on your intentions for what it is that you want to bring in your life. And if nothing else, it's like Ray said, you get to feel wonderful energy and have conversation with people. And there's more to the intention even than I talked about tonight. There's intuitive stuff that comes with that. There's being aware of the different things that were shown during times. There's there's a little bit more, and I'm always happy to share some of that in the group itself. And if you want to connect with me, my email address is in there. You can do that, or you can come on to any of the social medias at Laura Ordile, Ordile. It does look like Ordile. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. My website is lauraordile.com, and come have a listen to the Change Gang podcast. And I'm also have a group on Facebook called the Change Gang. I'm pretty much out there. You can find me, and I'm always happy to answer questions in my limited knowledge way that I can. I'm still learning, but I will come up with something, or I'll simply tell you, I don't know. Let's look over here, or maybe I can find out over there, or whatever. So there you go. I hope that you have a wonderfully, wonderfully happy evening.
Well, I enjoyed this immensely, Laura. I want to thank you, deeply thank you for coming. I think everybody here got something out of it. It's been an enjoyable time with you. Uh, I'm going to close it up and say good night and be blessed.